Hello, today is August. I forgot the date, and we're doing
19th.
19th, and we're doing social and security. I almost forgot section two, and we
Yeah,
literally just said it.
and you got it wrong.
Did I?
What did I just tell you the wrong one? Business and
You did. You
security.
you told me security.
I said social security because, social
Yeah,
security. Yeah.
it's just wrong answers all the way down.
I'm so torn up and I'm off my game because I can't stop thinking about that pumpkin.
Cause what?
The pumpkin. I
The
can't stop
slingless
thinking about
pumpkin.
the pumpkin.
Uh,
Imagine what it feels like. Just all that stress on your little stem all day long.
It's like the Mr. Beast video where he gave $1 million to the person that hung on to the monkey bars the longest.
he's fine. He's fine out there. He watched me lay in my hammock earlier, and he was like, "Kill me."
Well, let's start off with an Apple block. The Apple App Store, the controversy is coming to a head. We have all of these different vectors, people coming at it, accusing it, governments, other tech giants, and something's got to give. But which way will it give?
Facebook goes after Apple. Krista, what do you think about the logo?
Yeah,
I actually really like this. That's cute.
This is, I mean, it's so clever because that's the old Mac logo, and they've
Yeah.
reimagined it as something terrible. But they're using the Facebook F. I mean, it's really good. That's good work.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Facebook, remember we always talk about Facebook's games app and we sort of mock it because ha ha ha. Well, it turns out that there's something to that. Like, Apple is just toying with Facebook at this point. I can only imagine that they're just doing it for the lulz. Facebook's got a games app that they want in the App Store, and Facebook has literally cloned the web experience, so the web experience is no different than the App Store experience, and that still wasn't good enough. They had to make it less functional than the web version, which is ridiculous.
Now, when you talk about big tech companies, Facebook is kind of new, but I feel like Zuckerberg wants to be part of the club, right?
Yeah.
He wants to go to those eyes wide shut parties. He wants to dine on human flesh. He wants to do all the things that all the mega rich do. He wants to be in with them. But there is a wild card of a company out there who didn't expect to be mega rich. They didn't know it was coming, and when it did, they just went crazy and started disrupting every industry that they could, and now they've got their sights on Apple. And they've done something that Facebook did not have the balls to do, and that was pull a very popular app. And I'm sure people are not happy about this.
Apple sued by Fortnite maker Epic Games after kicking the game out of the App Store for payment policy violations. It was more brilliant than that and also hideously evil. So Tim Sweeney, Epic, they put Apple basically in an impossible position because either Apple would leave Fortnite on the App Store, and Fortnite had its own internal payment system. So yeah, it was like basically, hey, do you want to do the payment through Epic Games for this amount of money, or do you want to do the payment through Apple for this other amount of money?
30% or 20% less.
Yeah, well, that's the VIG that Apple charges. So Epic is making is exactly the same money there. It's just, do you want to pay the Apple tax or not?
No, I think it's 20, 30. They're keeping the last 10.
Well, that's explicitly against the Apple terms of service. The Apple terms of service requires that if you accept money inside your application, that you don't mention anything about other ways you can pay for a subscription, and your application has to be functional without a subscription, sign up, whatever. Otherwise, they won't let you in.
Epic said, "You won't," and Apple said, "Oh, we will," and millions of 12-year-olds cried out in anguish all at once.
But Epic had did you see the 1984 spoof?
Yeah.
So, Epic immediately knew exactly what was going to happen with Apple, so they launched a thing in Fortnite that was a parody of Apple's 1984 commercial where they were...
That was ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, it was like...
And there was some production value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's funny, though. I think there is something to this because I don't think games are a lot different than, say, websites or applications. And does it really ultimately matter that, a billionaire is getting in a fight with $1 trillion company? No. But as a result of this, I could care less. But as a result of this, maybe we'll see smaller developers get a better deal if Apple wants to maintain that consistency of, hey, everybody's playing the same here. I don't think
People-
it's sustainable the way that Apple is doing the whole like game streaming thing.
I kind of like how disruptive Epic is being.
Yeah.
But people are still, and I think we should be cautious about them. I don't think they're.
They're not doing it for the little guy.
No.
It's all about their bottom line.
But we are
Yeah.
benefiting from this war.
We'll probably benefit from this war.
Yeah. What we're doing right now is we're walking along the battle sites and collecting weapons and armor, and we will sell those later.
And see, Apple just testified before Congress that they don't have special deals with companies. And so the fact that they pulled the application, that would seem to lend credence to that. But at the same time, Apple's losing a lot of money not having Fortnite on their devices. So it's a little bit of a game of chicken.
Now, you would think that, good news for Android. I didn't include the story, but Android, I actually pulled it right after that because they did the same thing over there. It's also against their policy.
Yeah.
And so no one on mobile, unless you already have it installed, is getting Fortnite right now.
And I think when this finally goes before a judge, I think a judge is going to have a real hard time accepting at face value that's like, because if you give an application away for free, Apple will subsidize that cost, which is not a lot. I mean, they're $1 trillion company. They make a lot of money in the App Store. It doesn't cost 30%. That's a huge profit center for them. But if I make an application that's super popular and I give it away for free and there really is no monetization component for it, Apple will eat that cost because people will, the reasoning, the argument is that people will buy Apple devices for access to that application because it's so good. I mean, Apple still gets value and benefit from my free application because people will want to use free applications. So if they can do that with a popular application, they should be able to do it with Fortnite. Like the cost for them hosting Fortnite is no different than my free flashlight application, assuming they're equally popular.
Krista, I've rearranged the story somewhat. Would you please skip ahead to the daringfireball.net story?
What is this website?
Well, this one is right in your wheelhouse, Krista, because it's all about a logo design. And I moved this around because this is another Apple lawsuit.
Oh, I saw this story.
But in this case, it's Apple suing someone else. So give us the headline, Krista, and then we will look at the logo itself, and you can tell us what you thought.
Apple is fighting Trademark for Prepear's pear-shaped logo.
Prepair is a great pun.
That is a good pun. You should open it so you could the chat.
Yeah, we're looking
can
at
see.
it. We're looking at it.
Okay. This seems ridiculous to me. They look nothing alike.
Yeah, I don't see it.
One's an outline, like the leaf. Even like the one element that's the same, which is the leaf. It's outlined. It's pointing a different direction. Like it's a completely different fruit. Like there's nothing there.
And also, Daring Fireball, I don't know what daringfireball.net is. They point out that this is not really a similar industry. They don't sell hardware.
It's a recipe application.
So why would you ever
prepare for your recipes and it's a pear? It's such a good logo.
Do you think they have like Apple recipes waiting? Like there's a team working on that?
Crush up the iPhone with your mortar and pestle. Put the powder in your food.
Remember Apple Records versus Apple Computer?
That one probably has more because it's still an Apple.
They settled as long as Apple would stay out of the music business, but then iTunes happened and Apple was like, yeah, come at me, bro.
I would be amazed if Apple won that, but they do have a lot of money, and that's how our legal system works, unfortunately.
They saw that and they were like, oh, that's such a good pun. Kill it. Destroy it.
Kill it. Or they're working on their own thing that's going to be some kind of recipe application that maybe you subscribe to, and that's a thing.
It's going to be called AAPL. A-P-E-E-L.
Like an apple peel.
Yeah, and it's going to be the Apple logo, but someone has like a peeler and they're taking a piece off of it. And it's a cooking recipe. Get on it.
Do you get like the 10-paragraph story about how much they love fall and their Nana's recipe and their favorite cat?
Yeah, and then at the end of the 10-paragraph story, you get half of the ingredient list, and you pay 99 cents through Apple Pay to see the rest of it.
Oh, I hate it already.
Okay, Kristen, now we'll be moving to the Apple One story to get you back on track there. You'll be moving backwards, too. So, Apple, they've got some bad things happening, and they've had a little bit of an issue because people are not re-upping with new phones on account of,
Why would you?
the disaster.
Yeah.
No one's working, and so maybe we'll stretch our iPhone out for another year instead of lining up like lemmings and getting the latest thing, which isn't new at all. So Apple's been like, hey, how do we extract money from these people? They're no longer giving us the money, and that's what we need. So they have a new plan.
Apple readies Apple One subscription bundles to boost services. So you subscribe, and you remember the game thing? Like they tried this with like games. It's like, just give us $5 a month, and you get all these cool games.
Tier 1 is TV, music. What was the other thing?
The smug satisfaction.
I think it's TV and music, and then Tier 2 adds the games, and then Tier 3 adds the News Plus subscription. I can't remember if there was another one after that. But yeah, you can have all these different ways of subscribing to Apple's trash.
You know what would be a better use of your subscription dollars?
Patreon?
Patreon.com/level1.
Where you get
Floatplane.
Or Floatplane.
Yeah.
You get a podcast.
Get an amazing podcast.
Which we have to record this week.
Although
Or next, I guess.
I should, caveat, not everybody gets the podcast.
It's true.
Well, if you're on Floatplane.
Tiered subscriptions, just like everyone. So, Apple, they're hitting a little bit of a bump in the road, but it is not hurting the stock price. You see, the government is doing this thing where they just keep pressing zero. It's like, oh, things are bad. Oh, they're getting worse.
Press zero to dispense cash.
And it just keeps, the national debt just keeps.
Money printer go.
Exactly. So where does all that money go? Well, it goes into Apple stock. That's where it goes.
Tim Cook net worth is billionaire status as Apple stock nears $2 trillion. Just earlier this year, we were like, they crossed $1 trillion. And here we are a scant 7 months later, and it's like, what?
I have no mouth and I must scream.
Did this happen in Zimbabwe?
Is that why properties, like house values, are going up like 100% in 10 years?
What do you think he'll do to celebrate the $2 trillion?
I don't know. Buy a few islands.
I don't know. I haven't seen enough of his public speaking to get a read on his personality, but it seems a little milquetoast. I mean, we're one to talk.
He's like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna have 3 jelly beans tonight after dinner. You're not gonna stop me. I'm a trillionaire.
But he likes those weird jelly beans that are like strange flavors.
The butter flavored, popcorn butter flavored ones.
Oh, I was thinking like the one Zerial sent us where they were like booger or earwax. Yeah.
Well, as we said, phone sales not setting the world on fire right now. Seems like people are waiting to upgrade, and they're Google was just like, you know what? We're not doing the flagship thing anymore. No one's going to spend $1,000 on a phone right now. We're not even going to waste our time. And then Microsoft was standing behind them, and they're like, "Excuse me."
The Microsoft Surface Duo phone goes on sale starting at $13.99. I would almost consider this purchase if it weren't for gesturing all of this.
So they finally got that dual screen device, and they had been working on their version of Windows that runs dual screen devices, but then they were like, nah, we'll use Android.
Yeah. Now, if you want a preview of what this device should have been, Google the Microsoft Courier tablet. Microsoft demoed that 10 years ago. And so the question is, will this be more or less functional than the Courier tablet that they demoed 10 years ago?
I can only imagine if there was a press conference. Are we still doing press conferences? Probably not, right?
Virtual press conferences.
Probably online.
Yeah.
If you were a tech reporter and you were sitting in the pit of this press conference and they said this sentence and you were like, oh, really? Is this what you said last year and the year before that and the year before that? Haven't you been saying this for a while?
Reuters says that Intel said that their new transistor technology could boost chip performance by 20%. This was not mentioned on the shareholder call. This was their, they had their thing. There's a lot of news that is coming out of their thing. But yeah, new transistor technology could boost chip up to 20%. They were hinting that next generation CPUs, 5 gigahertz might be a thing.
But they were definitely saying, like, any questions about 7 nanometer? And they're like, oh, no. That's 7 nanometer. That's yesterday's news. We got this new stuff. It's the old stuff, but it's a new version of the old stuff.
Oh.
That's really good. Wait and see. We don't have it yet. We don't have it with us. It's in the car.
We weren't prepared for this press conference that we called.
But wait till you see it.
I don't know. So Raja Koduri was presenting a lot of this, and he's a really smart guy. He knows what he's doing. But he also had the same level of enthusiasm when he was presenting Vega for AMD. That wasn't great. I mean, it was okay. Vega was okay, but it wasn't great.
I accidentally spoiled this one.
Oh.
So remember when AT&T did that really confusing stuff where they had like all those different subscription services, and then they mixed HBO into it?
That we just constantly mock them for?
And then HBO had like 5 different versions of that. They had HBO Go, and then they had regular HBO, and they had AT&T HBO. And everybody was like,
What are you doing?
We don't understand any of this. How are you going to make money? That's the question. They're like, no, don't worry. This is all going to, like, once we figure this all out, the money is just going to come rolling in. And everybody was like, what about all the cable cutting that's going on? Aren't you worried about that? They're like, forget, don't talk about that. HBO Go. That's what we have.
AT&T to lay off 600 at HBO and Warner Bros. After revenue decline. AT&T's Warner Media suffered across-the-board revenue drops in Q2. Also, not mentioned in this article, but I have to mention it. Crunchyroll. Sony wanted to buy Crunchyroll from AT&T. AT&T owns Crunchyroll. But AT&T wanted $1.5 billion. I think what's going to happen is AT&T is going to crater so hard, they're going to go bankrupt so hard that they're just going to be broken up, and little pieces are going to be sold off to anybody that can buy them for just pennies on the dollar, and the shareholders are going to be left holding the bag.
You think there's a lot of $1 billion? You think there's a lot of demand for the advertising? It's like, okay, what advertising demographic can you give us? And they're like, well, we have a lot of unemployed 25-year-olds living with their parents. That's what we have.
Fun fact, Crunchyroll did want to advertise with Level 1, and I was like,
Perfect fit.
That wouldn't be a bad fit. The thing is, though, like, make fun of it all you want, but, like, weebs, they love their memorabilia.
That is true.
That is like they're willing to spend money on, like, T-shirts and, like, plushies and, posters and that kind of thing. So, like, it's not necessarily like a bad acquisition.
But
if you look at it purely financially.
On the other hand, do you have to advertise to them? Are they not seeking that stuff out at all hours of the day?
Yeah.
But if you make it easier for them.
I think some of it is literally like, oh, man, you mean if I buy this, $40 plushie, $3 of it goes to Level 1? All right, that's the only excuse I need. You could just join on Patreon or Floatplane.
Man, if you did like the Crunchyroll acquisition, and then it was like, we're gonna show the dubs and the subs.
We got the
like
penguins.
you would probably get a ton of subscriptions.
Oh yeah, we do have the stress penguins. They're not plushy, but they're squeezy.
We should get the plushie one.
We've been trying.
We've been trying. We can't find a
right.
manufacturer.
The problem.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get into the lawsuit section. And you're like, hey, we already talked about the lawsuits. That was just the Apple lawsuits.
I love this one because I predicted this one.
I segregated the Apple lawsuits from all the other lawsuits, but now we're going to do all the other lawsuits.
Oracle and Salesforce hit with GDPR class action lawsuits over cookie tracking consent. Yes, it's Blue Kai. Oracle Blue Kai. Salesforce has their thing, their Salesforce Marketing Cloud. These companies are still saying, hey, with our cookies, with our software, you can reach 2-3 billion user profiles. You can exploit, let us run on your website, pay us to use our tools on your website, and then we'll link you up to these 2 or 3 billion consumer profiles that we have. And the European court was like, hey, wait a minute, that's illegal.
It's not a case of the European Union be like, hey, are you still doing that? There's no question. It's their marketing material.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, here's what we do. Get some of it. So, yeah, that's...
Whoops. I can't wait for the Adobe lawsuit. That's coming.
That's very deserved.
Because Adobe's got their marketing cloud, which has all this nonsense, and they are not handling it correctly.
And here's an impressive one, because I remember the first time that wasn't that also an appeal?
Yeah.
So we saw that appeal and we were like, whoa, I can't believe this has happened. It's over. Well, it wasn't over.
Qualcomm wins U.S. antitrust lawsuit appeal over chip licensing. Now, the first time we saw this, I said that Apple was behaving badly. And sure enough, Qualcomm wasn't able to submit some evidence for that, but in this one they were. The evidence was accepted. And Qualcomm had lots of amazing things, like documentation from Apple, memos in terms of inside of Apple that was like, here's how we're going to subvert and punish and take away Qualcomm's revenue stream. We're going to keep using their products, but we're going to instruct our third parties not to stop paying them, to try to squeeze them out so that they'll be low on money, so it'll be a better negotiation position. Pro Billionaire tip, don't write that down and put that in, because that's illegal.
So this was the ruling that not only did they have to stop charging the licensing fees, which were, onerous, they had to go back to the table with all of their customers and renegotiate. Well, now they don't have to do any of that.
No. The court found that these rates were completely reasonable, and that Apple really did a lot. They did a number here on manipulating things. Like, Apple's whole playbook here was to buy less worthwhile patents and make it seem like the Qualcomm patents were more expensive. Meanwhile, Apple engineers were like, why are we buying these patents? They're worthless and terrible. And the Apple lawyers were like, shh, we're up to something. And that was written down. Don't write it down. Well, I mean, yeah, actually, I think Qualcomm got the short end of the stick on this one, and this is good that they're finally doing this. But the whole antitrust thing, like, Apple successfully convinced a bunch of lawmakers that they were having trouble with Qualcomm when they were the bad actors. If there was ever an argument for Apple needing to be broken up, this is it.
Now imagine this scenario. Let's say that you go out and you buy a really nice car. And then someone comes along and they're like, oh man, that's a nice car. And they take a picture of it. And they start selling that picture. And you're like, oh man, I don't really feel very good about that. But then someone comes along and scans that picture and starts selling scans of the picture. And then the second entity is like, stop what you're doing, I'm going to sue you. That's what happened here.
Yeah, Google beats song lyric scraping lawsuit. This was the ingenious thing. They caught Google red-handed. Google was saying, no, we don't do this. And they totally were doing this. So the lyric site has to license the rights to reprint the lyrics from the publishing companies, but the publishing companies don't actually give you the lyrics. You have to do that on your own, which seems dumb. So they did that. And then they also watermarked it, and Google found it more convenient to just take the work that they did instead of doing their own work. And that was why they thought they had standing to sue, but the court said, no, they don't. And so your picture of a car like that, it's kind of, I don't know, it's really weird. The court said that it would be up to the music labels to bring suit against Google, but they're not going to do that.
Because why would they? Because if you're looking at the lyrics, you're going to go and listen to the song.
Yeah.
So Genius argued that their work was transformative. Now they do annotations.
Yeah.
Or actually they let the users do it. But the judge said, I ain't buying it. You're basically using somebody else's work, and they're using your work in the same way. Get out of my court.
It's a little disappointing because Google should know better, but I guess it's not illegal.
Yeah, they don't care. They know better, and they don't care. Oh, they're not making a lot of money off the lyric search.
It's enough for what seemed to me like to be like a cottage industry. Like, a few people eking out a living, under a flat rock or on a flat rock or whatever. It's like, okay, and then Google comes along and it's just like, blomp.
I've gone to genius.com a time or two just to be like, let's see what other people think this is, because I think I know what this song's going to be about. And then you read it and you're like, oh man, why did I come here?
There's all these ads.
No, it's what the people put.
Oh man, it's worse when you look up a song on like YouTube and then read the comments and it's like, oh.
Yeah, it's your average internet commenter trying to get deep on lyrics.
Engagement challenge, look at the comments of the upcoming music video, because I've never been more horrified. That's in the nonsense section.
Oh. Did you watch it?
Yes, I did.
But that was the edited version. Did you notice?
No. Well, yeah. So.
I think that you're going to give me a story about lyrics in the song, and then you play me a version that's not the lyrics of the song. We'll talk about that on Friday. So, remember Google Plus?
No.
Well, some people do. and they're all lawyers. So Google Plus, if you remember, had a security breach, and the 15 or so people who were using it were like, "Oh wow, that was a terrible security breach," and there was a class action lawsuit. Well, it's time for a settlement. You're gonna get your money. All right.
You've probably already gotten the email.
Pause the video. Engagement challenge. How much do you think the value will be for the Google lawsuit?
Here's how to make a claim in the $7.5 million Google Plus security flaw settlement, so you can get your part of $7.5 million. It will pay out up to $12 per class member, but it will actually pay out much, much less than that if a lot of people want their $12.
Woo! $12.
Oh, wow. You can almost get a fast food value meal.
Think of all the produce I could buy to dehydrate with that $12.
This seems like it wasn't worth the headache except for the lawyers.
Yeah, really. I mean, Google probably lost money trying to defend this at all.
Yeah. They should have just been like, whatever.
They'll be like, oh, 7.5 million? You know what? Double it. And don't call me again. Amazon. So here's an interesting thing. You know how we're always talking about good old Article 230?
Yeah.
And Trump's rampage on it? So usually we're talking about it in the case of people posting online on social media or on forums or things like that. It's like, oh, are they protected? But this, I think, is more the spirit of that law.
California court rules that Amazon can be liable for defective goods sold on its marketplace. California Appeals Court ruled Thursday that Amazon can be held liable for this in the state for faulty products sold on its website. What happened was a lady bought a laptop battery on Amazon. It came from Hong Kong and set her legs on fire. And she was pretty seriously injured. And Amazon was like, look, people sell crap on Amazon. We don't have anything to do with that. The ruling seemed to open it up for eBay even, but maybe not, because eBay, do you know what you're getting into with eBay versus Amazon? Did the lady not realize she wasn't buying it from Amazon?
It is easy. You got to be very careful, because you'll go and you'll find a product and it's like, that's exactly the product I want. And then it's sold out from the people who sell that product, but like e-marketing is selling it. And it's like, oh, e-marketing.
How many counterfeit DisplayPort cables have I ordered? A lot.
You know what the darkest timeline is? She orders a battery from Hong Kong. It burns her legs terribly. She needs a skin graft, and she gets contacted from Hong Kong to get some skin.
Oh, no. That was the protesters' skin. Oh.
Or the Muslims. Yeah. So... Oh, we're still in the lawsuit block. Right.
Yes.
Zoom.
So many.
Zoom. Remember Zoom when Zoom said, like, Zoom was getting super popular and everybody was like, why do you use Zoom? And they're like, it's got end-to-end encryption. And 80% of the people who said that didn't know what they were talking about. They're like, oh, no clue. It's like, oh, it's got that? Rust proofing? And everybody was like, yeah. And then they got really super popular and everybody was like, oh, tell us about your encryption. It's so good. And they sheepishly were like, it's TLS. And everybody was like,
wait, what?
But that's not.
That's not what you're talking about. Cybersecurity 202. Zoom sued by consumer group for misrepresenting its encryption protections. One of the big things in this lawsuit is, hey, somebody in the United States is talking to somebody else in the United States. That traffic's going through China. Doesn't that mean that if the Chinese state wanted to, they could spy on that traffic because it's not encrypted end to end? The answer is yes. In fact, all the Five Eyes countries employ exactly that tactic to skirt around their own local laws. That's actually a deliberate tactic.
So yeah, they're trying to they talk about how it would be nearly impossible for individuals to prove that happened to them, so they're trying to do the class action thing and do it all at once and really hurt them. I guess if you Zoomed during the pandemic,
you can get $3.50.
Keep an eye on that. Now let's look back in time. Back before Time Warner and Charter merged. And they said, hey, government, we would like to merge. And the government was like... And
the Netflix controversy was really in the news because Netflix came out and said, hey, we have ISPs that are trying to extort us. It's extortion. They're holding your traffic hostage.
And the other thing that was in the news was data caps. And the government was like, we think this is going to be bad for the consumer. And Charter was like, come on. We're friends, right? I've been to your house for Christmas. And they're like, you know what? If it makes you feel better, I'm going to promise for 5 years, no data caps, and we are not going to charge those third-party sites. We will not do it. And the government, who has been betrayed, it's like the scorpion and the frog. Time and time again, they're like, all right, I trust you. And now here we are. It's not been 5 years. It's been 2 years.
Yeah. Charter can charge online video sites for network connections, the court rules. The court kills a ban on interconnection fees because the FCC didn't defend a merger condition. So Charter, instead of asking the FCC for an extension, they just went to court. And the FCC declined to defend itself. So the judge was like, all right, whatever, I guess. Thanks, Ajit Pai.
He's working hard on that new portal.
Now, there were a surprising number of people in our audience that did not understand. They're like, no, if Netflix uses a lot of bandwidth, they should pay for that. They absolutely do. Imagine that, it's the dial-up days before the advent of broadband, and the dial-up is fast enough for your video needs. Now imagine that you subscribe to Netflix, but in order for you to get Netflix, you got to dial into your ISP. So your modem makes the little phone noisy sounds, and it gets a busy signal. And every time you call into your ISP, you get a busy signal. That is a problem with your ISP. That is not a problem with Netflix. Do you think Netflix should pay your ISP to have more modems because people want to watch Netflix? No, that's the same thing.
So probably gonna. They've said that we're not gonna do that.
Oh, they absolutely,
they absolutely are going to. The lawsuit actually showed that other ISPs are doing exactly that.
But not Charter. They're not going to do it. For some reason, they just want to.
They just want the option.
Yeah. They just feel better.
Do you think the judge... Do you think he understood what was happening here?
No
at
clue.
all? Or do you think it was just like, well, they didn't defend themselves, so I'm kind of like, my hands are tied?
Yeah, the text of the ruling was basically, the FCC didn't really present an argument here, and it seems whatever. So it seems like they accepted Charter's version of things, which is not actually reality.
Also, his neighborhood got fiber all of a sudden. That's not true. I made that up. So here's some mixed news. We're gonna make some people angry, but first of all, let's get the good news first. Good news first is response time looking good, looking as good, almost as good as we have now over copper, which is damned impressive. Gotta say it. Gotta say it. And I think the disappointing part would not have been as disappointing if someone had kept their mouth shut.
SpaceX Starlink speeds revealed to beta users get download of 11 to 60 megabit, about 30 milliseconds on the latency. So that's pretty good. The article does say that there was a few scattered reports of people with latencies as low as 20 milliseconds, but around 30 milliseconds was about what they were getting.
Now, you say pretty good when you talk about 11 to 60, and you know what? Compared to
AT&T DSL?
Yeah.
Garbage tier internet?
Let's instead compare it to what was promised. Gigabit.
Gigabit, yeah. Well, it's pretty good for a beta. Let's see where they are in a year.
Yeah. I don't know. I suppose that repositioning the satellites could.
And the density of satellites, because they do want to launch.
What percentage do we have up there? Like 50?
No, it's I think it's like 15 or 20%. Well, if you look at the number of satellites they want to launch on their applications, it's in the tens of thousands, and there's not anywhere near that yet.
Krista, give me a number. So let's say the latency is good enough. You're going to be able to play Overwatch. But what is the download speed that it hits where you're like, all right, I'm buying my rural home?
It also, have we got any idea of how expensive it's going to be? Because that's another really big consideration.
Well, the beta, they're probably giving it real cheap.
Yeah, probably on the order of like $200 a month.
But yeah, so by the time you get everything else sorted out, like if you have to pay a really high bill, I don't know if it's worth it. I don't know.
But you're going to get 5% off all of your Tesla purchases. You get 5% off of all oil changes on your Tesla.
I don't know why this is, but I follow the solar subreddit, which is just people talking about solar panels. So that's kind of lame, I guess. But people hate the Tesla solar panels in that subreddit. They get very upset when you bring them up, unrelated.
I don't know. The one thing that I think that Starlink is going to expose is that internet in rural America is actually trash. And like when you cut through all the lies and the BS and the Ajit Pai's insanity, it is insanely bad. And as a country, we really need to just go ahead and run fiber everywhere. And this is going to make it seem like we don't really need to run fiber everywhere. And we really do.
Well, and it's like, and how affordable, like, you know, for a rural person, is it going to be to have this kind of internet when it's, you know, $200 a month?
Well, I mean, it's going to get a lot more affordable when Lord Bezos gets into it.
Yeah.
And it's included with Amazon Prime. I'm waiting for that.
Ooh.
The satellites are literally bringing your Amazon Prime deliveries.
Well, you know, I mean, close enough. And it may be that when I get my blazing fast internet through Amazon, I am going to get the dream. Now, I know some people are going to be like, well, we already have that. We don't have that. Here in the sticks, there's no same-day delivery. But there could be if all of a sudden there was a distribution center in every mall.
Amazon and mall operator look at turning JCPenney, Sears, and other kinds of stores into fulfillment centers for Amazon. The article, like, you should read this. This is really good. But the takeaway for me from this article was, wait a minute. You mean to tell me if Sears and Walmart were more technologically successful, there would be no need for Amazon because they could, like, the conglomeration that was Sears and that is Walmart, if they operated as a single unit with the mind-numbing efficiency of Amazon, there would be no place for Amazon?
Well, imagine if every Walmart, you just blocked off 25% of the parking lot and turned that into an online fulfillment warehouse.
That seemed like I don't have to interact with people. I can just drive up and be like, I'm car 37, and they're like, here's your crap, get out.
Or not even drive up. They could ship it to your house, and it'd be, you know, that 2-day delivery or 1-day delivery.
A minimum wage employee just leaves from the local place and brings it to me. That seems amazing.
Yeah.
It would be nice to have during the pandemic.
They were late to the party. They got complacent. You can't get complacent. This was 2 stories. I got the latest one in the saga. This rolled out over the course of the week. So in California, they made a very this kind of harkens back to the Fortnite thing.
Yeah.
California said you won't do it, and it's yet to be seen. But these companies are saying, "Oh yes, we will."
Lyft joins Uber in threatening to pull out of California over driver status. So somehow from this, I got pulled down a rabbit hole where there's an economist that was looking at Uber's financials and their employees and crap like that. And in order for Uber to be commercially viable, it has to be run by a group of about 25 people. Otherwise, it's just never going to be commercially viable because it can't make enough money and undercut current cab prices.
Yeah, but there's enough venture capital suckers to
That's
keep
what
that going
Yeah.
for another 20 years.
That was the point of the article, was like, this whole thing runs on venture capital. It's not real.
It's like most of the
like
tech
Twitter.
world, which is
Yeah.
strange.
Well, today's the 19th, is that right? So tomorrow is the big day. Is everybody ready? Do you have your
Again.
face shield and everything shined up?
Woo.
You got to use the invisible glass on it so that
nice.
you get the full experience. You don't want smudges and stuff on the inside of your face shield when you're trying to watch a movie. And so, will people go back to the theaters? I don't know. I don't think people are going to do it. But they have decided to give them one hell of an incentive. This is a big discount.
AMC movie theaters will reopen on August 20th with 15-cent tickets. It was a headline from next week. AMC movie theaters out of business, closed forever. Looking back on 100 years of movie theaters.
I like how... So they're faced with a problem. They're like, okay, our business model inherently causes the pandemic. So what can we do? And somebody raised their hand. They're like, let's pack as many human beings as we can into these rooms.
I think even at 15 cents, I don't think anybody's going to do this.
People will flock to this. Wait and see. People, it'll be a low quality crowd of people. Maybe, you know what? If it weren't for them coming back out into the community and killing us,
No.
Like I said, we talked about this on the stream the other night. So like, Canada has reopened some of their theaters, and it's like they can't show anything because like nothing's really
'Cause there's
playing.
no
What are they
movies,
going to play?
well, they've got a couple of movies are on deck. I don't know if they've announced dates for them yet.
Can't they replay the old pandemic movies?
Don't
Oh
they?
yeah, it's like Contagion.
They got one of those Marvel movies on tap, right?
Yeah.
They got that new movie from the guy that made Inception.
Oh yeah.
Bill and Ted 3.
There you go.
Bill and Ted 3. I'm looking forward to that.
So yeah, if it works, they've got like a one good weekend. They'll probably actually each of those will have a weekend, right? They could get us through September, and then we got nothing.
Does it? It hurts my brain, but I'm trying to think about Bill and Ted as the John Wick origin story.
We do not need to introduce time travel to the John Wick universe. So, moving on to the security section. Oh, wait. Maybe this is not the security section. Right. No, this is just... Yes, it is. It's just... I forget what I just said. Cryptocurrency. We have a lot of them. Because if you create a cryptocurrency and it takes off at all, you'll make a ton of money. Because you can get it in the ground floor. Because you laid the foundation. But you got to be careful when you do that.
Single line software bug causes fledgling YAM cryptocurrency to implode just 2 days after launch. Day 1, we're worth $500 million. Day 2, we're nearly worthless. Whoops.
So they actually have the 2 lines here.
Yep.
Unfortunate. How many characters is that got you? It's tough.
They were testing something and forgot.
That's tough. So the problem is they used stake. This is one of those cryptocurrencies where the more you had, the more influence you had. But that line made it so that nobody has any influence. So they can never
Do anything.
confirm anything on the network. It's just floating out there. It's just dead.
Oops.
And it's one of those like you're not allowed to mess with it code bases, you know? It's like, no, it's cryptographically you can't ever go back and you can trust this. So you can't ever fix it.
Can't wait for YAM 2. Electric Boogaloo.
I have gotten a huge new burst of robocalls lately.
Yeah, me
Have you been
too.
getting them?
Same.
Yeah. It's insurance. Or no, it's credit card.
Mine is car insurance and car warranty.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the car warranty one's pretty common.
So the FCC told us that it was fixed.
It's not.
It's not been fixed. So one group said, you know what, let's try and figure out, let's just study this and see exactly how bad it is with just a random telephone number.
A simple telephony honeypot received 1.5 million robocalls across 11 months. But they actually did something pretty genius here. They used something like 66,000 phone numbers, and they were all just random. They were numbers that had never been published anywhere. But they also received a lot of calls for human beings that were looking to call somebody back that had called them. Now, obviously, those numbers had never called anybody in a very long period of time, the length of this study. So the researchers concluded that there was still a lot of spoofing going on as well, which is the other thing that Ajit Pai promised he would fix at the beginning of 2020.
I always block the numbers, but then I'm
Yeah.
thinking to myself, it's like, what if by some crazy chance, like that person actually needs to contact me someday?
And it's some rando that's not this person.
But it is local,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, relatively local because they're. I'm sure it's not important. We have a new kinds of web attack. This is another one of those, security researchers' what if scenarios, but this one seems like it could happen, and it is pretty damning if it were to happen because it would be hard to detect, and you might not even know it was happening to you.
Researcher discovers new HTTP request smuggling attack variants. So the HTTP request smuggling attack originally dates from like 2005, but this researcher thinks that, hey, this is still viable. This is still something that can be used in modern applications because of the whole like in-tier, front end, back end kind of a server thing. People can inject malicious things and actually end up doing requests to servers that, people don't realize necessarily are exposed to the public internet.
So, what can you do about it? Well, personally, nothing unless you're working on the the IT end of things. So just live in fear.
Keep an eye out for that. It's another thing for Cloudflare to add to their heuristics detection thingies.
Now we had there was Garmin. What was the other company last week?
Garmin was the big one. They paid the
Garmin
ransomware
was the big
millions of dollars.
There was another one that just got hit, but lots of big companies have been hit. Now usually they'll go after a big tech company. Seems like almost exclusively they will. They rarely branch out. Sometimes they'll hit a municipality or something like that. Those seem like easy pickings. But this group decided to diversify and take away something we really need during the pandemic. This could cause a terrible shortage.
Jack Daniels. No. Jack Daniels was the target of an apparent ransomware attack. Apparently their IT group, not completely incompetent. They handled it, but there's a downside. The attackers said that they exfiltrated over 1 terabyte of information from Jack Daniels. Apparently Jack Daniels IT detected this and were able to stop the ransomware attack before it really took off, but maybe not in time to prevent exfiltration of 1 terabyte of data. We'll see. The attackers said that they were going to release the data in retaliation for not paying the ransom.
Imagine you're in the Garmin meeting that morning, and it's like, guys, Jack Daniels got this right. A bunch of
those guys are drinking their own product all day.
They're in the hills of Tennessee getting better IT. What is this? We're Garmin.
+1 for Appalachia.
Nicely done. Bravo. Although the data exfiltration thing, I don't know if that's true or not, but we'll see.
I wonder why. I mean, obviously the internal documents can be terrible, but I don't think they would have anything that would be too terrible.
That's probably a lot of embarrassing stuff. I bet they'll have stuff about their competitors. They'll be like, oh man, so-and-so launched an amazing website. How can we get on top of that?
Bob, go ahead with the plan to start using 20% wood alcohol. No one will know.
The liver failures have gone up dramatically. Shh.
We'll blame the blindness on hand sanitizer.
All right, that's enough of that. We'll see you on Friday with nonsense. Wow, the nonsense. If there was ever a time that YouTube was going to shut us down, it's going to be the nonsense on Friday.
Krista, give us your best Jack Daniels fueled Tennessee Ridge Runner goodbye.
Bye. Not very good. I don't know how to be drunk.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.